Sony's director of strategic content recently made the statement that, quote, he's invested a ton of PlayStation's money into amazing PlayStation VR projects. So we don't know what these projects are. We've only seen a handful of games for PlayStation VR up until this point. But I've said it before that I do believe that Sony is holding out on a lot of games. I think they've got several games ready to announce whenever they get ready to finally pull out the PlayStation VR system. And so far, all the reviews that I've read as far as the headset goes, everybody's praised Sony who's used it. They said that Sony has built a great headset. It works really well and really comfortable. And whenever they do come out, they're going to have to bring a lot of good titles in order to entice people to buy this device, which could possibly cost as much as the console itself. So in order to sell this device, you're gonna have to bring the games. But one big question that I think is good to look out for is how many of these games are going to be able to be played with the VR headset or without it. Now, we do know that there's been several developers, including the people leading this technology, that said if you really want a good experience with VR, you need to build a game up from the ground with this in mind for the best experiences. Now, you can take games that are already out and bring them over to VR, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But they say to get the very best experience that you need to build it from the ground up, and they say games like shooters and fast-moving games don't really work well with this tech. But we do know that there are games coming that are going to be translated over to VR. Ark Survival is one of them. You'll probably have games like Gran Turismo. I wouldn't be surprised if No Man's Sky was announced for VR. But one of the big questions is how many of these games are going to be playable with or without. Because some of these games that Sony has showed off, you know, they've got that one where you're basically a shooter and you got like that invisible hand. A lot of people have praised that game, but it doesn't look like the type of game that you would want to play without the headset. Same thing goes for a game where you're in the ocean. Again, a lot of people praised it because it feels like you're in the ocean whenever you've got this headset on, but if you don't have that headset on, are you going to be interested in playing this game? Or can you even play this game without the headset? So, of course, the hope is that whenever they do reveal these games, that a lot of these games are going to be able to be played without the system. Because I know some people just aren't interested in VR whatsoever, while others are super excited about it. And I think just speculating that a lot of these games will be playable with or without it. So there's still a lot of unknowns at this point. The biggest being still, how much is this thing going to cost? When is it going to actually get here? And I almost feel like it's kind of a wait and see approach with a lot of these companies. We still don't have the price point or release date from Sony or Oculus. And it's almost like they're waiting to see who's going to come out first to put out the information. And then maybe trying to compare it or counter it. But if this thing's launching in early 2016, somebody's going to have to make a move pretty soon. And so with Sony, we've got the PlayStation in Paris coming right around the corner. I think they're having another PlayStation event later this year like they did last holiday season. So hopefully with one of these two conferences, we're going to get some definite information. But once you get the price point and the release date, you gotta make sure that there's games there that people are going to want to go purchase. And according to Sony, they're pouring a ton of money into VR.